Good evening. I haven't seen Mike Wynn up there. Hopefully if he shows up, you guys will let him talk. My name is David Milender. I live at 12601 Mead in the Brandywine subdivision in Broomfield. I also work in Broomfield, and I volunteer on the Planning and Zoning Commission here at the city and county. Broomfield's a planned community. That's actually why my wife and I chose to move here to Broomfield back in 2012. We really love the trails. We love the open space that run through the community. Our open space is our best resource. Pat Quinn will agree with that. But this open space has made us vulnerable. While residents like me moved here to enjoy the open fields, the sweeping vistas of the mountains and the plains, outside corporate interests have identified these same open spaces as ripe for siting new oil and gas production facilities. They use your agency and its antiquated rules to shoehorn their operations into our neighborhoods, near our homes, our parks, and our schools. Broomfield has tried to address this problem by convening a task force made up of residents who studied these issues and made some non-binding recommendations. It was an imperfect process at best, and it was subject to the typical political games and pressure from the industry. But while the residents on the task force were passionate about their work, they're not qualified to study these issues. Working as an accountant with oil and gas, or getting published in the Journal of the American Biology Teacher on sex education does not suffice for qualifications to scrutinize available data or lack thereof to determine the appropriate setbacks, air quality, sampling programs, and property valuation impacts. Nonetheless, they spent many hours in this task force process, and they made some recommendations to our council last month, which, despite their shortcomings, were adopted. It shouldn't be this way. This is madness. Our faith should be trusted to learned professionals and scientists who can study and address these issues on a full-time basis with scientific evidence and the resources to back them up in studying these matters. This is what your agency should be doing. But you've gained a reputation for rubber stamping industry requests. All the while, the number of spills, accidents, and injuries in our communities have risen. Since being able to assess larger fines, you guys have actually done an admirable job of levying some pretty large fines against non-complying operators. I applaud you for that, but let's not kid ourselves. The standards that operators are held to in our state are a very low bar. I implore you to mindfully and carefully undergo rulemaking to update and modernize your rules to address the new dangers of urban oil and gas development and base it on science, not the lack of science, and not on beliefs, and not on politics. While you're undertaking rulemaking, I encourage you to revisit the concept of forced pooling. This practice is of questionable constitutional validity at best, and it allows a private entity to use a government agency, yourselves, to take private property and use it for private purposes. I hope you recognize and appreciate the problem that this presents and that you take action to address it yourselves before the residents of our communities use the courts to eviscerate the whole forced pooling system for you. Thank you again for coming here. Thank you for listening to our comments. I hope you visit one of our breweries before you leave town.